Before dawn, the Black Sea slept under a sheet of fog. Then radar screens lit up. A swarm of Ukrainian naval drones had pierced through Russia's coastal defenses, gliding low across dark waters toward Sevastopol. Within seconds, alarms blared across the harbor. The Sergei Kotov, one of the Russian Navy's prized patrol ships, was now the target. Explosions ripped through the still air, echoing off the cliffs of Crimea. In that moment, the balance of power at sea shifted, not by battleship, but by remote control. As the smoke thickened over the bay, Russian operators scrambled to understand what they were up against. The night had just begun to burn.
It was 0342 local time when the radar operator at Sevastopol's coastal defense station leaned forward, squinting at faint moving dots on his screen. They crept low and fast, too low for aircraft, too smooth for waves. The system flagged them as unknown surface contacts 15 kilometers from port. Inside the CICI, a young officer dismissed it as noise, maybe small fishing boats cutting through the bay before dawn. Still, for the commander ordered a verification sweep. Within moments, the infrared feeds came alive. Multiple heat signatures synchronized, speeding toward the harbor at nearly 80 kilometers per hour. Alarms pierced the silence. The order went out. Sergei Kotov, intercept immediately. Aboard the 1,700-ton patrol ship, crewmen scrambled from their bunks. Boots hit metal decks. Searchlights powered up, slicing through the mist. The 30mm autocannons rotated, their barrels glowing faintly as they locked on to the incoming blips. On the bridge, the captain shouted coordinates while sonar techs traced echo returns bouncing off the bay walls. But the signatures were too small, too quick, darting like metal fish. The realization came too late. These weren't fixing votes, and they weren't random radar ghosts. They were hunters. And the Sergei Kotov was already inside their kill zone. But what if these weren't ordinary intruders? But what if they're already inside the kill zone?
Hundreds of kilometers away, in a dim control room along Ukraine's southern coast, operators watched a dozen live video feeds flicker across their screens. Each one showed the same view: black water, distant lights, and the looming glow of Sevastopol on the horizon. They were piloting the Marichka and Sea Baby drones, small but lethal machines barely 5 meters long, each packed with 200 kilograms of explosives. The operators worked in silence. A soft hum filled the room as antennas tracked the drones through encrypted Starlink uplinks. One crew member adjusted the signal gain. Another checked the wind speed over the bay. The commander murmured, "Maintain formation. Target is Sergei Kotov." On the water, the swarm split apart, half veering north, the rest gliding directly toward the harbor mouth. Their small hulls skimmed the waves, almost invisible to radar. Wave crests, harbor buoys, and even reflections from pier lights disguised their approach. Then came the signal. Electronic countermeasures activated, flooding Russian short-range radar with static. For 3 critical minutes, the defenders saw nothing but white noise. In the darkness, the ship's gray silhouette appeared on the drone cameras. One operator leaned in, heartbeat steady, and whispered, "Target lock confirmed." Would the Russian defenses react in time before the first impact? The calm shattered at 3:54. From the harbor's edge, the Sergei Kotov unleashed a wall of tracer fire. 30mm shells ripping across the waves, glowing like streaks of molten glass. The guns roared in bursts of 5, their echo rolling over the bay like thunder. Each impact sent fountains of seawater into the air, but the targets kept coming. Russian spotlights swept across the surface, catching glimpses of low silhouettes racing toward them. One gunner shouted coordinates, another corrected aim. but the drones darted unpredictably, weaving through the chaos. In the confusion, a burst of friendly fire grazed a nearby patrol boat, forcing it to retreat, trailing smoke. Then came the impact. A drone, already burning from a near hit, slammed into the Kotov's starboard hull. The explosion was instant and violent. A fireball erupted, painting the fog in orange. Shock waves rippled outward, rocking nearby ships and shattering windows along the docks. Crew members fought to contain the flames, shouting over alarms and steam bursts. But before they could regroup, a second drone tore into the midsection of the ship, igniting stored ammunition. The blast was deafening. Metal shrieked, the deck buckled, and black smoke curled hundreds of feet into the sky. Onshore observers felt the ground tremble. The bay glowed red. In the command center, Russian officers stared wordlessly at screens filled with static. Could the Russians save the ship? Or would the Black Sea claim another warship before dawn?
By 4 a.m., Sevastopol's skyline was on fire. Plumes of smoke rose from the harbor as Russian firefighting vessels raced toward the inferno. Their hoses cut through the haze, arcs of water glowing orange in the light of the burning warship. The Sergei Totov was now half submerged, its hull glowing from internal heat, as ammunition inside continued to cook off in short, violent bursts. Across the port, chaos reigned. Radio channels overflowed with overlapping orders. Some commanders demanded ships retreat deeper into the bay, while others shouted for reinforcements to engage any remaining drones. The confusion was total. From space, satellites captured the glow of Sevastopol, visible even to NATO analysts hundreds of kilometers away. Thermal imaging confirmed catastrophic damage. The Kotov was listing 15 degrees to port, flames spreading across its deck. Aboard nearby tugs, sailors fought to cool the hull, but every explosion forced them back. The water around the ship shimmered with burning fuel, spreading the fire like a mirror of flame. By 4:10, the captain's final transmission broke through static. "Prepare to scuttle. We can't hold it." Within minutes, controlled charges detonated below deck, sealing the fate of the vessel. The Sergei Kotov slipped beneath the surface, swallowed by the same bay it once patrolled. But what did the loss of yet another ship mean for the entire Black Sea Fleet strategy? By sunrise, the smoke over Sevastopol had thinned, but the silence that followed carried more weight than the explosions themselves. Ukrainian intelligence confirmed what the world soon learned. One of Russia's major patrol vessels was gone, destroyed in under 20 minutes by remote-controlled boats. In the Kremlin's early briefings, officials debated how such small, fast drones could breach layered defenses. Some called for stronger sonar nets around the harbor entrances. Others demanded constant air cover. But everyone knew the truth. Ukraine's strike had changed the rhythm of naval warfare in the Black Sea. At the same time, NATO satellites captured frantic activity along Russia's coastline. Warships previously stationed near Crimea were being redeployed to Novorossiysk, hundreds of kilometers away. The once dominant Black Sea Fleet was being pushed back, not by missiles, but by ingenuity and persistence. In Kyiv, inside a dimly lit operations center, the drone operators replayed their footage. No cheering, no applause, just quiet, focused eyes watching the ripples from their creation fade into darkness. They had done the impossible again, but they also knew Russia would answer. Was this the turning point in the war at sea, or merely a preview of the next escalation?
The strike on Sevastopol wasn't just another explosion. It was a message. In a war once ruled by tanks and missiles, small unmanned boats had rewritten the script. Speed and precision now outweighed size and armor. The age of remote warfare had arrived, and it was reshaping every coastline touched by conflict. For Ukraine, the sinking of the Sergei Kotov was proof of concept. For Russia, it was a warning. The sea was no longer safe. Subscribe for more frontline analyses of the tactics shaping tomorrow's battles at sea. Because in modern war, the quiet hum of a drone can speak louder than 1,000 guns.